Hi everybody, welcome back to the City Aperture channel. My name is Jose, of course, and I go by City Aperture. And today I'm not in my typical room. I'm actually outside the shop. I'm outside drawing. I got all my drawing utensils here. I'm gonna do some drawing outside because it's a nice day. And I haven't gotten the chance to do this too much, to be outside. Um, Even with everything that's going on in the world right now with the coronavirus. Since I'm essential personnel at my job, I've still been having to go into work. I actually haven't had a day off in a while. Um, but this is a video that I've been wanting to get to for a while because with having to go to work still and still being out in the world, and now things are reopening as of the middle of May here. Um, we've been having to make a lot of masks, sort of face coverings, and that's what this video is going to be about. I decided to make a bunch of masks for myself and my wife, so I'm gonna run into that. And I've been meaning to shoot this intro for a long time actually, and I just haven't had the chance. So I figured I have a little bit of time right now. Let's just get to it. We'll run the video, and hopefully by the time it's time to shoot the outro, I'm back in my shop. And so I found this template, or I made this template from this mask that I already had, and then I blew it up after I traced it. This is a copy of the original, folded it in half, just so that it's symmetrical when I cut it. And just a real quick cut. Now I downloaded a template as well, so I'll put a link to the template I downloaded on the description, but this is the one I made myself. So then it's just a matter of tracing it out on the fabric. I just went through and cut it because I didn't want to feel like tracing it, but probably tracing it would have been faster and easier. So now it's all cut. A little trim. There we go. Right, so that's one of the templates, so you see how it's going to look when it's unfolded. We'll leave it folded for now until we sew. Here's a template for another one. Like I said, I'll put links to all of this in the description. But this one had different sizes. So. And this essentially looks like the same mask, except that it's made into pieces. So you have one more extra seam to sew down the middle. And then this is going to be the inner liner. So you can see here I traced the template just so that it would be easier to cut. And when I traced it bigger than the template, so that when I sew it, it will work out perfectly. So we got the sewing. I've never really sewn before, so it took me a little bit of time to get used to the machine. And all I did really was look up the machine. So here you see how I've sewn everything inside out, essentially all the seams in the middle, and attach the inner liner to the outer, and then you just turn it inside out. And you can just look up your machine and see how it works if you've never used one. You can also sew it by hand, but there you go, and you can see it looks nice and neat. And it's a matter of putting in the elastics. Elastics has been really hard to find right now, so I'm actually using a hair tie. I'll show it later in the video when I make a different kind of mask, how the hair tie works. But basically I just wrap the fabric around the hair tie so that I can sew a seam there. And here's me sewing the seam so that the hair tie is within the ends of the mask. It took me a second to get it going. Forwards, backwards to lock in the seam, and then just sew, and then as it gets to the end again, forwards and backwards. That's how I learned. Maybe it's not right, I don't know, but the seams help pretty well. So alright, so this is another way. If you don't know how to sew, get yourself a shirt. This has a bit of an elastic to it, so it's a little stretch, right? You just stretch it out. It's the arm sleeve. And just a pair of scissors. Cut that sleeve off. And this mask is done, believe it or not. I'll show you in a bit how I use it. So here are one of the finished cloth masks. And you can see it has the interior white lining. It's a softer fabric. It's not felt, but it almost feels like felt. It's like a thinner, softer felt, I guess. I don't really know fabric, so I don't really know much about sewing. As I mentioned, I'd never sewn before, so there you have it. Here is the last thing that I showed, which is what I wanted to really get into. This is the cutoff sleeve, right? And again, it's stretchy. You just use a stretch shirt. If you don't have the sewing machine, if you don't have the fabrics, you don't need to have too much. Just cut this. It fits right over your face like that. And there you go. You have a mask, right? Just as good as this one that fits over the ears. Right? They're both just as good. Yeah, this one has an inner lining or whatever, but it's all about protecting your mouth a little bit. We're gonna get into leather. So I've shown very simple ways of doing some, very straightforward. The one I'm going to show now is, again, something I've never done before, but I decided, I saw a pattern, I found a pattern, I'm going to do it. So I bought this, right? This is a leather working kit. Some stuff is falling out. Comes with a bunch of tools and whatnot. This is basically all I used to make the next thing you're going to see. So, again, I have no experience with leather, just like I had no experience with sewing. But I just had to jump in. What can I lose? I had some leather already that I had bought a while back. Here's a piece of it. So we're going to turn this into a leather mask. Let's go do that now. Alright, so the first step, just like before, is cut out the template. I'll put a link to this free template that I found. And again, I cut it wide because I'm going to tape it down to the leather. Here, I laid it on the piece of leather. It's got some masking tape. You can see right through it. And I just taped them all in the locations that I wanted, sort of to maximize the leather as well. This way the templates won't move, because we're going to punch the holes first and then cut them out. So here's the punch that came with the kit. This is the single. I had a single, a double, and a triple. And you start punching the holes. So once all the holes are punched, now it's time to cut the pieces free. This way it's not moving on you when you're punching the holes. So now I'm just cutting right across the edge. It's a nice sharp knife. You see there's freeing the first piece. I'm just going to go through and cut them all. Alright, so I've got all the pieces cut out. They're all strewn about. But what I want to do next is, these are the side cheek parts. Right, so I'm going to cut some holes into it so you can breathe. I'm going to use this guy here as the template of where the holes are. I mark this for the opposite side. And now I'm going to trace them onto here. What I'm going to use is this tool here to poke a divot where they go. Like that. See, I don't know if you can see that. But there's a little tiny hole right there that I'm going to cut out. So we'll go ahead and do that for everything and get back to this. Okay, now I'm going to use this tool to cut the holes. And I've already set it. This has got multiple sizes. So I've already set it to the size I need to fit the little eyelets that I have here. So now, just guiding myself by where the hole is, I can reach in, center it, and there's a hole. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of them. Okay, so now I've cut all the holes. Right, and the way this works, so the way the eyelets work is, you take one little eyelet, you put it in the hole, right, like that, you turn it over, and then using the little star stamp here, you just camera though. Sorry about that. But there you go. Now the eyelet is in there. See that? Right, and you can see the star in the back has spread, and it's not going to come out. So now I'm going to do that through all of them, like I did with this side already. Alright, all of the eyelets have been put in. You can see on both sides. That's where you're going to breathe through. So now I'm going to start sewing it together. I have this thread that the kit I bought came with. Came with a couple of colors, but I like the white. And then I have all of this needle that again the kit came with. So I'm gonna cut some thread and just start sewing it together, and we'll go from there. So sewing is just like you would sew any fabric, really. It's just tougher because you gotta push it through the leather. With this template, the holes all are supposed to line up. So you just gotta be careful you do that. But you can also get something called a stitching pony. I don't have one of those, so I just did my best. But you can see as you sew it, it starts to pull it together and pull it to shape. Alright, so I finished one whole side, right? And now what you do is you back stitch, which is the hard part here. Just back stitch a couple of times. It's a little tough with the thread's sake, and you don't want to get it stuck in the thread. But once you've stitched it back twice, right, and both strings are on the same side, you can just burn them. You can see it's a little thicker there, but you can just burn them right on here, or you could make a knot. I made a knot. You don't have to. I've seen people do it without it because it's a wax thread. So after you make the knot, nice and tight, right, then you just cut the ends off, and then with a lighter or a match, you just want to burn the wax and it'll melt together because it's the wax thread again. And here I'm going to show you, because again I've sewn everything together. Now it's time to put the elastics part on it. But again, elastics is so scarce right now. Here you see that's the part that goes on there. What I did is I bought these hair ties. They're nice and stretchy. They work well. And I bought a couple of different ones, but I think this one's for too long, so I'm not going to use this, guys. Also very stretchy. I'm just sewing them in now. So the leather folds around the elastic, so you just gotta hold it in place and stitch through 3 parts of leather at this point. That's really the hard part. Once it's done, again, I made a knot, and then you just burn it into place and it melts together, so you just push it against itself. And it just melts all together and it won't go anywhere. And also leather won't burn, so don't do this with fake leather. Only do it with real leather. And there we go, we have a finished mask. So there you go. This is the last one. This is the leather mask that I made. I showed some pictures of it. You know, it's not perfect. The stitching isn't perfect. It took a while to do because I, had just the basic tools. The only things, and I'll put a link to the kit in the description. The only thing that I used that weren't in the kit was this thing, which is a hole punch, and a hammer. Both the things that I bought at Harbor Freight. You can probably find one at the Home Depot, and then I used the cutting board for the piece to punch onto. And that was it. I think if there's a takeaway from this, is that if you don't know how to do it, you can still just jump in. It might be rough at first. The sewing was frustrating. I kept going back and forth. But once I got the hang of it, it went by pretty smooth. And all you gotta do is look up how your machine works, and then they're not that complicated. Yeah, you're not gonna be a seamstress overnight, but you can make a decent looking mask. So I don't know, that's that's all I got. Be safe. Let's hope this reopening works out, and I'll see you guys next week with a new project.